Hello friend, how are you? Welcome to Tripan Study Center. Today we are going to do the chapter of political science and highlighting each and every point of it. Let's see what is our topic today. Today we discuss on most important chapter here, security in the contemporary world. That's important chapter, class 12, cbse ncert political science here. And there is a arrive is an important point, meaning of security. You know that's important meaning of security here. The basic meaning of security is the freedom from a danger. You know that the basic meaning of security is the freedom from a danger, but only those things should be made the object of security and related thing which threatens their central value of life. That's important. The meaning of security here, the basic meaning of security is a freedom from a danger. That's important here. And central value is the life of here. And there is a meaning of security, but security is a type here concept. The concept of the security is two type. There is a traditional belief and non-traditional belief here. First of all here, a traditional belief. You know that external threat. The according to traditional belief, the first point here, external threat here. The military attack, genocide, balance of power, alliance, agreement. That's important. There is a external threat here. But traditional belief is the other here factor is the internal threat here. The internal threat is a law, order, separatism, and civil war. That's the internal threat here. The source of this threat is another country which poses a threat to the core values of country, such as a sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity by the threatening military attack. That is our external security here. That's an important point here. And let's see is a internal security. Let here arrive a traditional concept of security, mean a internal security here. You know that by this concept we mean a internal threat within the country which include internal conflicts here, like a civil war, dissatisfactions with the government, and this security depend on internal peace and law and order. That's important here. There is civil war, dissatisfaction with the government, and this security depend on the internal peace and law and order. And there is a dangerous and this form of people who are one of our country. That's important. There is a dangerous in this form. The people also one as own country here. The next point arrive here that is important. The point here a non-traditional concept of security. That's important here. Non-traditional concept of security. You know that non-traditional concept of security include all those threats which are the dangerous not for any one country, but there is an entire world and cannot be solved any one country alone. That's important here. There is a dangerous for the all country. There is a no solutions is here. Any one country is alone. That is here. In what there is such a dangerous are dangerous for the entire human race. In other words, such a dangerous here entire human race, and such as here natural disaster, poverty, epidemics, and terrorism and global warming, pollution and refugees and problems and increasing of population, etc. This is not about thing one country solve this problem. There is solved by the there is a alone. That's important. And that is a here such as the natural disaster, poverty, epidemics, terrorism, global warming, pollution, and refugee problem, and increasing of population, etc. There is a non-traditional concept of security here. You know that there is a point here, non-traditional belief here. That's important. You know that non-traditional notation of security go beyond our military threats to include a wide range of threats and dangers affecting the state of human existence. That's important. And there is a next point. Non-traditional value of security has been to the is called human security, or also called a global security. That's an important point. Non-traditional view of security have been called human security, and there is also is a global security. And by human security, mean the security of people more than security of states. That's important. The human security we mean the security of people more than the security of states. Proponents of narrow concept of human security focus on a violent threat to the individual. You know that's important. Proponents of a narrow concept of human security focus on a violent threat to individual. Not that important. And proponent of a broader concept of human security agree that there is a threat agenda and should include hunger, disease, and natural disaster. That's important here. Their threat agenda should include hunger, disease, and natural disaster. The idea of global security emerged in the 1990s in the response to the global nature of threats such as global warming, AIDS, and so on. There is an important here, non-traditional here. That is the threats such as global warming. Global warming issue the whole world, and also the AIDS, on so on there. That's important. The next point arrive here. That's important. The point here, a government has an option in a case of war. You know that is important. A government has an option in the case of war. Basically, a government has a three option in case of war. That is a three option here. First of all here, to a surrender. First of all here, surrender. The surrender is important here. And the concepting, second point here, concepted their other sides demand without a wagings war or giving indication of increasing the damage and causing by the war to the such on the extent that other side gets scattered and resist for the attacking or if war a break out and they protect itself so that is attacking country can be achieved. It is a objective unable to succeed and a threat here. That's important. There is an important here second point. There is a concept, there's a other sides are demanded without a waging war or giving indication of increasing the damage causing by the war to such extent that the other side is get scattered and the resist from attacking or if war or break out there protect itself so that as attacking country and can achieve its objective here. That's important. And let's see the third point here. The next point arrive here that's important. The point here, elements of traditional security policy. Know that is important. Elements of traditional security policy. Here, element of traditional policy has two types. Balance of power and making alliance. That's important is the 2 point here. And the first point arrive here. balance of power. The balance of power that's important. A country is away sensitive to the possible war, any other threat against itself. You know that the balance of power according there is a first point. A country is away sensitive to the possible war or any other threat against itself. He keeps or tries to be changed the discussion or balance of power in his favor in many ways. That's important here. The next year, to be maintains the balance of power from a country that is a threatening it. It's increasing the military power, increasing economic and technological power, and make a threats with the friendly countries to be deal with such a situation. That's important here. A balance of power. There is a balance of power. There are military power increasing economics and technological power and make a threats with a friendly country to the deal with the such a situation. And the next point here, making alliance. That's important. Making alliance here. You know that a coalition consists of many countries and takes a collective action to be prevent or defense against a military attack. Most of the alliance get a formal from thought or written threats and such alliance. It's a very clear as to be who is the threat. There is a making alliance. That's important first point here. Second point here, country from alliance to increase their influence of their power and compared to any other country or alliance. There is a important here. You know that the basic alliance here are countries for alliance to increase the impact of their power and compared to any other country or alliance. That's important. The country for alliance to increase the impact of their power compared to any other country or alliance. And second here, alliance are based on national interest, and when national interest change, alliance also the change. There's a basic alliance here. The next point arrive here that's important. The point here, security challenge facing the new independent country of Asia and Africa. You know that is important. Security challenge facing the new independent countries of Asia and Africa. The security challenge facing the new independent country of Asia and Africa were unique in the two respect compared to these European countries here. You know that is important 2 point here. First here, this country were a fear of military attack from their another word country. First of all, that's an important point here. The country were a fear of military attack for their another word country. And secondly here, they also had to the worry about internal military confessed. But some other reason, let's see here. The first point arrive here. The newly independent country faced the prospect of military confess with another hot country. That's important. They had to worry about the internal military confessed, and this country faced threat not only from the outside their border, mostly from another world, but also from within. That's important here. There is they have to worry about the internal military confessed, and this country faced the threat not only from outside their border, mostly from the world, but also is within here. And many new independent countries come to the fair. There another world even more than there's a fair to the USA or Soviet Union or the former colonial power. And they quarrel over to border and territories or control of people and population or all of these stimulus. That's important here. The next year, internally there are new states very worried about there is a threat from separatist is moment where they want to be from independent countries. And sometimes the external and internal threat might there. And the next point, another word might help the instigate on internal separatist a movement and leading to be tension between the two warring countries here. That's important here. You know that the internal war now make up more than 95% of all army or confessed fought to the anywhere in world. That's important point here. The next year, between 1946 and 1991, there was a 12-fold rise in the number of civil wars, the greatest jump in the 200 year. There is jump here 200 year. There is between 1946 there's and 1940 1991. There is a Cold War era here. There is a Cold War era. There is a 1945 to 1991. That is the greatest jump in the 200 years. So for the new state, external war, whether another war and internal war, pose a serious challenge to their security. That's important point here. Next point arrive here, that's important. The point here, war policy in the traditional concept of security. You know that is important. The war policy in the traditional concept of security here. You know that the traditional concept of security accept that use of the violence should be limited as much as possible. In this, it is a later extension of the European traditions of justice as war that today almost the entire world believe in. Here is the most important point here. A country should be wage war only for a justified reason, self-defense, or to be save other from a genocide. And according to this point of view, there should be limited use of war means any war. That's important. There should be a limit use of war mean in any a war. The fighting army should not kill their enemy who is the extent to the fight. The unarmed person or the enemy who has surrounded here. The army should use only as much force as necessary for self-defense, and it should be resort to violence only to the limited extent. That's important here. The army should be used only as much force as is necessary for the self-defense, and it should be restored to the violence only to the limited extent here. The traditional concept of security does not be denied. There is a possibility of the cooperation between two countries in the some from other country. That's important here. You know that's important. And the most important among these are the disagreement, army control as restrictions of trust. That's important. The traditional concept of security does not be denied the possibility of a cooperation between two countries in a some from or the other. That's important. Next point arrive here. That's important. New source of dangerous. New source of dangerous security in the contemporary world here. Note that is an important point here. New source of danger, and some new source of danger have emerged about which the world is the warrior to a great extent. This include terrorism, human rights, global poverty, migration, and health epidemics. That's important here. New source of dangerous here. Terrorism, human rights, global poverty, migration, and health epidemics. That's important here. Terrorism refers to the political violence that is deliberately and indiscriminately target of civilian. That's an important point. And there are three types of human right. The first, political right here. Second here, economic and social right. And third here, right of colonialism people. That's the important three rights here. Another types of insecurity in a global poverty. Rich state are getting richer, while the poor state are getting poorer. That's important here. The rich state are getting to richer and poor state is getting to the poorest. That's important. And poverty in the south has also led to the mass migration in search of a better life, especially better economic opportunity in the north. That's important, especially better economical opportunity in the north here. And the health epidemics such as HIV/AIDS, bird flu, and severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS are the increasing our country through the migration. And new disease is the corona. That's important here. There is the HIV/AIDS and bird flu. There is a very dangerous as many times here. And the other acute disease here are respiratory syndrome means SAR. SAR acute respiratory syndrome here and increasing a country through the migration. It is important to understand that expanding the concept of security does not mean covering everything. To qualify as a security problem, a problem must share a minimum number of common criteria. That's important here. To the qualify as a security problem, a problem must share a minimum number of common criteria. That's important here. The next point arrive here. That's important. This point is a political science here. A collaborative security. You know that next point is the most important here. Collaborative security. The dealing with the some security issue required to the cooperation rather than to the military confrontations. That's important. There is a cooperation rather than to the military confrontations, and military help can be taken to deal with the terrorism, but it is will be of no use in dealing with the issue like poverty and migration, etc. It become important to the formulate struggle that is involving international cooperation, which may be a bilateral, regional, and continental or global. That's important here. It is important to formulate struggle that is involved to the international cooperation here. And cooperative security may be involved to the other players, both international and national. That's important. Alternative security here. But cooperative security can also involve the use of force as a last resort here. That's important. The cooperative security can be also involve their use of force as a last resort. The international community maybe have to be approve the use of force to deal with the dictatorship. Next point arrive here. That's important. The point here, security strategy of India. You know that's important. Security strategy of India. India's security strategy depend on the four-bodied component here. You know that Indian security strategy depend on a four-bodied components here, and four components here stands as military capability in the first component of India as a security strategy as an Indian has been involved in a conflict with it is another word. That's important. You know that first component here or strengthening military capability here. Strengthening or military capability is the first component of security strategy of India. And second here, the second component of India is security strategy to the strength, international norm and international institution to protect its security interest. That's important here. The second here strategy, there is the international norms and international institution to protect its security interest here. The next here, the third important component of India as a security strategy is to be respond to the security challenge within the country. You know that is important third component of your security strategy here. Respond to security challenge within the country. The fourth component is to be develop our economics in such a way that the vast majority of citizens are left out to the poverty and miseries. This is important. There is a fourth component here. There is a fourth component of Indian security strategy here. The economics is such a way that the vast majority of citizens are left out of poverty and misery. That's important. It's to control the acquisitions of arms and it called for a giving up of content types of weapons to be avoid mass destruction. A process is which the different countries share ideas and information with the rival countries by the informing each other about their military plan. That's important. A process in which the different countries share ideas and information with their rival country by informing each other about their military plans. And it is referred to be a country suffering from a low income and low economical development to be classified as a least developed or developing countries. That's important. It's referred to be a country suffering from a low income and low economics development to be classified as the least developed to the developing countries. It is a movement of human resources from one state to another due to some special reason. That's important point here for the exam view. This topic was till this. We will be do their next topic in the next part. If you like it, then please like, share, subscribe, and share the video as a much as a possible. Do not think, subscribe and save in your mobile.